What is up, guys? The doctor is back in the office, and today we're doing a full card breakdown of UFC Fight Night. Arnold Allen versus Melquizael Costa. This is the people's main event. We're not watching any of that Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano bullshit. This is the real money fight, man. Fuck Nate Diaz. Fuck Mike Perry, man. This is the real money fight. We're watching Arnold Allen and Melquizael Costa. Ho Choi's on this card. Daniel Santos, Malcolm Wellmaker, Modestus Bukauskas. Fuck that guy. Prelims are kind of slim, but we do have Petroski versus Cody Brundage. That's essentially The Rock versus John Cena. If you are new here, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and let's kick this off with the early prelim opener of Bannon versus Nicole Caliari, a fellow fucking Italian as Nicole Caliari. And I'll say this about this matchup because you might be saying, K-Jock, this fight fucking sucks. And what I'll say to you is, this fight actually is terrible. But Bannon is kind of a channel legend here if you're new. This was the first fight. She was the first fighter I ever broke down on this channel. And first fighter I ever talked about on this channel when she faced off against Sam Hughes. And I think it was UFC fucking Paris or whatever, that Kaio versus Imavov card. So Bannon holds a special place in my heart. She also is kind of hot. And she's Irish, so she has that going for her. But I'm going to go with Bannon here. You know, she's kind of this karate kind of a striker who is not really a karate striker. She kind of looks to Wonderboy Max sometimes. And she kind of sucks. And she'll just throw side kicks and randomly blitz in at you and go in and out with the jab. And she's kind of easy to take down, if I'm being honest. Well, she'll kind of spam arm bars off of her back. And Caliari, you know, she's well-rounded in the sense that she's terrible everywhere. You know, that's really all I could say about her. She'll throw calf kicks on the outside and kind of shoot a variety of takedowns that won't really do anything and has zero defense. So I'm going to go with Bannon by decision in this one. Starting off with 1-0 for the Irish people. Moving on to Daniel Barez versus Luis Kincaid Gurule. I think is it pronounced differently? Is it like Gurule? I just like to call him Luis Kincaid Gurule. I'll say this for Daniel Barez. Daniel Barez is kind of a offensive pressure boxer who has pretty nice combos, nice jab, he'll rip to the body, to the head very nicely, can mix and blast double legs when he wants to, and when he gets you to the ground, it's going to look to take your back. His offense is essentially his defense, so if he's getting going on the front foot, putting pressure on you, that's when he's most dangerous, and that's when he's going to be his best defensively. And, you know, he lost to Andre Lima and Jaffa Filho, who are pretty decent names, and Luis Kincaid Gurule, man, he's kind of a volume striker who doesn't have a ton of like power. I don't really know how to describe him. You know, he'll throw teeps on the outside where he'll move in and out with combos, can take you down if necessary. Like if he has an entry for a takedown, he will use it, and he does look flashy when he fights, but he isn't exactly super effective or explosive. And you know, he's lost to a lot of good guys like Ode Osborne, Alden Correa, Jesus Aguilar. But I kind of like Daniel Barez slightly more in the sense that I believe that isn't he younger? Let's look at the tail of the tape, kids. He's actually 5 years older, so fuck me. No, but he is more explosive, more powerful, and I kind of trust his technical boxing ability more to win this one. I'll go with Daniel Barez by like round 3 TKO. I think he either gets it late or wins a pretty close decision. Luis Gurule is pretty hard to put out. I think Ode Osborne finished him in round 1, but if you're going to lose to Ode Osborne, it's going to be in round 1. He's one of the most kind of explosive flyweights, and just physical flyweights in the division is so tough in that first round. But I like Daniel Barez here by round 3 TKO. Moving on to Alice Ardelean versus Viana, excuse me. Another one of those fights where, man, how do you not like women's strawweight? You know what I mean? Who cares about this shit in all honesty? You know, Alice, she's a boxer who kind of just walks forward at you with combos the whole fight. She keeps her hands low and is pretty hittable, as you could see in her picture here. She kind of is giving you a little, and she looks pretty bruised up. Slows down a lot later in fights. Doesn't really have any takedown defense or scramble ability. And, you know, Viana, the thing with her, actually, what did I say about Viana? Did I just fucking mix up my notes there? No, I didn't. Viana, she's a pretty well-rounded finisher, you know, in the sense that she'll just get a ton of round 1 finishes, so she's not really well-rounded, actually. What the fuck am I saying? You know, she'll kick on the outside, can take you down, can pull ghillie, attack arm bars off of her back. She has no takedown defense or scramble ability. Excuse me about Alice Ardelean if you're watching this fight. I like Ardelean here by decision. I think she's going to take down Polyana Viana and just kind of win by blob fest. Viana's kind of a round 1 or bust kind of a fighter, and I don't really trust that against Alice Ardelean. Again, I did deep tape study for strawweight. If you're looking for women's strawweight breakdowns, DM me, because we're trying to start a channel up for the women's strawweight division. Moving up to Andre Petroski versus Cody Brundage. I hear voices in the air. Na, 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 na. This is actually a banger of a fucking fight, in my opinion, because it's certainly a fight. You know, it's weird because I don't really think either one of these guys are good. Not that it's pointing out anything special. But the funny part about this fight is I actually think it's winnable for Cody Brundage, who I don't think has won a fight in the UFC in his last 4 fights. He went to a split decision with Dante Johnson, though. So, I mean, you know, I don't think he's terrible. Is that really saying... Does that say more about Cody Brundage, or does that say more about Dante Johnson, though? But Petroski's so chinny, man. I like Brundage in this one. You know, Brundage is a wrestler, has got some power in his hands, can blast doubles, mix in ground and pound when necessary, will explode in with overhands and hooks. You know, the thing with him is, though, is he can kind of get dropped when he throws calf kicks and leave himself open to be countered. And he does slow down later in fights. There was a point in time where Cody Brundage kind of had pretty good cardio. I mean, it kind of stayed in there against Dante Johnson. He was able to go 3 rounds with him, but I mean, it's not anything special. You know, he's not like a bum in my opinion, or really great anywhere, but he is a fighter. You know what I mean? Petroski is a control wrestler with power. You know, he's beaten Rodolfo Vieira and GM3 when he wasn't fully washed like 3 years ago. He's so low volume, though, where he'll throw 1 strike with no combos, and it's just slow, and he has no chin. I mean, this guy got KO'd by his own takedown. Who the fuck was he fighting there? Oh, who cares? You know, he'll shoot it on single legs on the ground. Again, he's kind of just going to look to control you. I like Cody Brundage in this one by TKO. He's a goof, just a goober. You know, he's faced pretty good comp lately, like Dante Johnson, Mansour Abdul-Malik. That was a goofy fucking fight. That was supposed to be supposed to be a win for Mansour Abdul-Malik, and then there was an illegal headbutt, so it got overturned to a no contest. Also lost to Cam Rousen, who put out Andre Petroski pretty bad. But the thing was, even in that Cam Rousen fight, like, Cody Brundage was landing some fucking bombs on Cam Rousen and had some moments in there, and Petroski got murked out so much worse. So I'm going to go with Cody Brundage in this one by round 3 TKO. I just think he's going to get Andre Petroski, who is just so chinny and throws no volume. Moving up to Ketlin Vieira versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I'm going to go with Cavalcanti here. You know, Vieira is pretty low volume. She has heavy hands. Not necessarily somebody who's going to look to counter. Used to be kind of a perennial person that you would just see randomly in the top 5. Can hold position on you if she takes you down. She's just a big ass Brazilian, you know. She has KO, like, she thinks she has KO power, and she really doesn't. She seems to get outpointed a ton of fights. Low-key might have gotten robbed in her last one against Norma Dumont, mainly because Norma Dumont's hotter. I bet that's why she won. She just leaves it too close. And again, as I'm saying that, if you're watching this video, like, ooh, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, she's been her fair share of split decision, unanimous decisions too. All women fighters kind of fucking leave it close. Maybe that wasn't even good analysis. But Cavalcanti, you know, she's a boxer. She'll pop her jab, calf kick. She's undefeated in the UFC. Throws longer combos on the inside. She's pretty good defensively. And honestly, I think has solid technique. I think she's going to win this one by decision. Ketlin Vieira was out here getting outstruck by Kayla Harrison. How the fuck does that even happen? So we're going to go Jacqueline Cavalcanti by classic women's 29-28. Unanimous decision. Moving on to Tommy Gantt versus Arthur Minev, who kind of sounds like your stereotypical like Eastern Bloc like boxer. He's got an insane record and is kind of a marauder. Tommy Gantt sounds like a guy from Long Island, obviously, like a good Irish guy, except he's black here. Both debuting. Gantt had a really nice submission on Contender Series. This Arthur Minev, you know, he's just got added to this. Gantt's he is a pure wrestler who will just run straight at you, shoot you into the fence. I don't really even know if this guy can strike very well because, you know, at range at all, but he does have power on the feet. And, you know, when he's in the octagon, he's looking to chain wrestle you and totally get you down. And also fights a ton, fought like 5 times in a year. Minev is kind of a wild striker with wild hooks and overhands. Does have a ton of KOs against a bunch of randoms on the regional scene. Can time counters pretty well, but he's mostly just fought bums and cans, as I just said. Gantt, I just think is going to come in here, is going to grapple a lot, he'll mix in the clinch, has great sub game, really nice guillotine, a really, really nice guillotine, has finished a couple people with that throughout his career. I'm going to go with him by round 2 submission in this one. Shout out to my Irishman, Tommy Gantt. I believe he's from Raleigh, North Carolina, so shout out to Carolinas also. I like Tommy Gann in this one by decision. Moving up to Tokkos versus Ivan Erslan. Another kind of one of those just matchups that you're like, Jesus. The prelims for this card are pretty rough. The main card, in my opinion, is pretty good for a fight night. But Tokkos is going to come in here. He's going to wrestle you and grapple you. He's uncomfortable on the feet. Will throw calf kicks when he wants to. And he did sub Junior Tafa by like triangle choke in his last fight. And he'll shoot in on a variety of, singles and double legs. And on the ground, he has really nice ground and pound. And then he can find a submission. And, for a guy who is as uncomfortable as he is on the feet, he actually is fairly durable. But Erslan, I'll say this. He's a heavy-handed boxer who moves well on the outside with jabs. He's lost 3 in a row to Jimmy Crute, Navajo Sterling, and Ion Cutelaba. I believe Tokkos has also lost Navajo Sterling. Erslan's pretty KO focused. He's looking to knock you out. But he does get behind on points line. The funny thing is, for a guy who's so KO focused, it's not like this is a dude who has a ton of knockouts in the UFC, slows down a lot late in fights and leaves himself pretty open to be taken down when he's moving forward, hunting for a KO. Is a decent scrambler, though. So I'll say that, if you're going to pick him, he is a good scrambler. But I kind of think Tokkos is just going to come out here and just out-grapple him and win this one by kind of a boring decision. You never know with light heavyweight, though, because there can always be just some insane knockout or submission where it's like that was so low level, but it was hilarious how it happened. I'm going to go with Tokkos in this one by decision. Up the card, we go to Nikolai Veretennikov versus Chaos Williams. I like no, I don't like Nikolai Veretennikov in this one. I like Chaos Williams in this one. Veretennikov will kind of just come in there. I don't know why I keep saying kind of. This is what he does. He counters with straight shots, blitzes in, wings, hooks. Offense is good. Defense is bad. His takedown defense is terrible. My introduction, or at least, I remember earlier fights of this guy, but just the one thing when I think of Nikolai Veretennikov is that fight against Punele Soriano, which wasn't his last fight, but it was one before that, where he just kept getting taken down like 100 times. And would just keep pulling guillotine. They were all terrible. And maybe one of them was close to getting in there. He must have had 11 submission attempts in that fight. And they were all guillotines. And none of them were remotely that close. And before that, he had KO'd Marauder and Michael Chiesa victim, Nico Price in his last fight. I believe it was in the Apex. So he does have that. But Chaos Williams is a pretty big power puncher who's wild. He'll wing big overhands. And, has lost 2 in a row to Andreas Gustafsson, the future of the welterweight division, and terrorist Gabriel Bonfim. Fuck Gabriel Bonfim, by the way. He's very offensive focused, leaves himself pretty open to getting hit, but does have that one. He's got the touch death, man. He's got that one-shot KO power, and he does have pretty questionable takedown defense that I don't really think will come into play in this fight. It's an ugly one. I don't really have much confidence in either one of these guys. They're both terrible, but I think I'm going to go with Chaos Williams in this one by like round 2 knockout. I just don't like Nikolai Veretennikov. And Chaos Williams, at least they're both kind of fun to watch, but they're both just terrible. Again, I don't really give a fuck about that fight. Moving on to Timmy Cuamba versus Bernardo. I believe it's Sopaj is actually how you pronounce it. But this is a close one, Cuamba, he's won 2 in a row against randoms. And Sopaj, he's only fought twice in the UFC, beat Ricky Tercios, got finished by Vinicius Oliveira, that fucking freak. Cuamba's a kickboxer. He's got a fast 1-2, can mix in that flying knee in there. Who I believe I forget who he finished before that, but it was like 2 fights ago he finished the guy by that way. Has a nice kick, head kick from the southpaw position, moves well on the outside, can time his entries really well. Hard to hit clean because of how often he moves on the outside, and can wrestle on double legs and control you on the ground with pretty nice ground and pound. Also is fucking massive for the division. I believe he's 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Sopaj has a good jab, nice head kicks and calf kicks, can wrestle well whenever he wants to. One thing with him is he can kind of, wilt and panic if you pressure him a lot. But on the front foot, he'll use knees well, slows down later in fights. But I do like him in this one just because he's more talented, a little bit younger, and he has fought better competition. So I'm going to go with Bernardo Sopaj by decision, even though he's fucking Ukrainian. So I don't know why I tried to do that accent right there. Moving on to Modestas Bukauskas versus Christian Edwards. Fight was just made. I believe Christian Edwards was like a Bellator guy. Before I break down this fight, I'm not going to forget what Modestas Bukauskas did against Nikita Krylov. That was a fucking disaster where you got put out cold. You're a bum. That's what else. Maybe not a bum. He did win 4 in a row against nobodies before that, but he's a blitz heavy guy. He's going to want to use his speed and to get into the pocket. Won't really set up a lot. Leaves himself very open to be countered. And on the outside, he'll throw a ton of calf kicks. Can get takedowns. He does have decent ground game, but he does struggle if he can't really get inside and blitz you. Christian Edwards, southpaw, decently well-rounded based on what I've seen. Can enter with that 1-2 and uppercut pretty well and uses a double leg to get to the ground and pound and has really, really good ground and pound. I just don't know if Christian Edwards is even UFC level. And the thing with some of that's a pretty simplistic breakdown. Just be like, the guy's not UFC level. I'll just go with Modestas Bukauskas. But it is kind of true. I mean, he's fought in Bellator. I can't really necessarily say that this guy is going to come out here and look great on the feet against Modestas Bukauskas and be able to take him to the ground and finish him on the ground with his good ground and pound. So I'll just go with the guy who's been around for a while. For the most part, in his last 5 fights, has looked improved other than the Nikita Krylov fight, other than his last one. I'm going to go with him, Modestas Bukauskas, in this one by round 2 TKO. I still will never forget what you did to fucking Nikita Krylov. That was absolutely embarrassing. Moving on to Malcolm Wellmaker versus Juan Diaz. I was really excited when this one was made. Juan Diaz had a sick knockout, spinning elbow KO on the Contender Series. Also beat a bunch of, I think, isn't he undefeated of 1 loss? Let's see. Does he have 1 loss? He only has 1 loss in his professional career. He's pretty good. Now, he has beat up against a bunch of randoms, but I think Malcolm Wellmaker is going to put on a you must have forgot performance on tomorrow night in the Apex. It's kind of crazy. This guy loses 1 fucking fight and they just send his ass back to the Apex. But I think he's going to bounce back off of a loss to Ethan Ewing. I hated when people said Malcolm Wellmaker got fraud checked because Ethan Ewing, in my opinion, is future champ potential. I'm not saying he's going to be the champion. I'm not even saying this guy's going to be top 3 in the division. But he does have that kind of potential. He is that good. Malcolm Wellmaker has that 1-punch knockout power, can use his kicks well, and if you see the kicks, he's just going to counter you with his hook. That's his bread and butter, is the right hook and the left hook. And he actually did well against Ethan Ewing, all things considered. It was a pretty close fight. Diaz is a boxer, has a nice 1-2, lunging 1-2, can throw reckless hooks on the inside, and again, had that sick KO on a random Sheen worker on the Contender Series. Just a pretty solid boxer who can kind of put damage on you as the fight adds up, can mix in double legs, can take your back, slows down in kind of these higher paced fights. I like Wellmaker in this one by TKO. Juan Diaz doesn't have great head movement, and I feel like that's going to leave him prone to getting knocked out, not just in this fight, but possibly in the UFC if he doesn't improve that. Wellmaker, just a better athlete, has the power advantage here. And again, Ethan Ewing is just so good, man. This is such a level down. Juan Diaz is not on Ethan Ewing's level. Malcolm Wellmaker is going to bounce back in this one. I believe by round 2 or round 3 knockout. You're never going to hear me switching up on fucking the machine, Malcolm Wellmaker. Moving on to a banger of a co-main event. Ho Choi versus Daniel Santos. Quick note about Ho Choi. Never forget the Cub Swanson fight, obviously. It's one of the best fights of all time. And also, on UFC 2, when my brother would use Conor McGregor, I would just abuse him with Ho Choi. Just knees, calf kicks. I would just spam calf kicks on Conor McGregor and tear up his legs and then knock him out. Ho Choi's the fucking man. But I don't think he's going to win this one. Just the inactivity from him, and probably that's because he's old and just getting injured now. Hasn't fought over a year and a half, I believe, or near a year and a half. Knocked out, finished Nate Landwehr pretty bad. Is it Algio or Algio before that? I know he's from Philly. Choi, he's well-rounded, has really nice calf kicks at range, and then has a really nice 1-2. Can throw that really nasty cross to the body. Uses the left hook really well when you enter. And you kind of used to be a hook merchant. Has gotten better with that. Can also use the guillotine very well if you shoot on him bad. And uses wrestling more as he's gotten older. But Daniel Santos, in my opinion, I don't know if I'm going to say he's really good, but he is a marauder. He's literally just a shittier Charles. He's a classic shoot the box kind of guy where he's going to want to box you in the pocket. Good head movement, will slip and rip on you. Spinning kicks on the outside, mixing his double legs. Can spam takedowns when he needs. Again, he's your average shoot the box guy where he's putting pressure on you. He's going to, find the big shots on you, consistently pressure, consistent. I've said pressure like 8 times. What the fuck am I saying? I just lean Santos on this one. Choi, I think, is a little too predictable. Santos is cleaner. He'll find a KO similarly to how he found it against Zombie Jr. he just has the big power advantage. Also a little bit younger, he's won 4 in a row. I just see him walking down my guy Ho Choi and finishing him round 2. Choi will probably have a moment because he does have really nasty uppercuts where he just crushes Santos with one, probably in like round one, and then Danny Santos is just Charles Oliveira maxing. You hear "Let It Happen" playing from the fucking speakers in the Apex, and it's like, and then he walks him down and crushes him. That's how it's gonna go. Daniel Santos by a round 2 knockout on this one. This should be a banger either way. I think it's gonna be a really fun scrap. Moving on to Arnold Allen versus Melky, the Dalmatian Costa. This is the people's main event. This is better than Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano, both pretty hot. And Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. Nate Diaz is pretty hot. Francis Ngannou, Felipe Lins. This is what we're watching. Arnold Allen versus Melky Costa. Sick main event. I've been split on it for a while. Initially, I was all over Allen. But then I was like back on Costa. But then I'm like, maybe we're just both over. We're overrating both of these guys because Melky Costa finishes Dan Ige, right? And Dan Ige, again, had never been finished, but he's just so old. And Dan Ige, he was bound to get fucking finished. This is the guy who lost to Pitbull. You know what I mean? The writing was on the wall that Dan Ige was eventually going to get finished. Also beat Morgan Charrier, who kind of sucks now. That was kind of a whatever win. And, you know, Allen, I also think we kind of overrate, or at least maybe I have, you know, possibly before, because he was on an insane win streak where he was just beating up on shit guys before he fought Max Holloway. And his best wins were like Calvin Kattar, old Gilbert Melendez, who Joe Rogan be like, people forget, man, Gilbert Melendez, he was a fucking marauder. And also beat like a drained Dan Hooker at 145. I do think Arnold Allen is still going to win this fight, though. You know, he's a movement-based striker, nasty cross, southpaw. You know, he'll sling in there and jump in with you with punches. Adjusts to his opponent's weaknesses pretty well, where he'll just do a really nice job with the forward pressure against guys who kicks, which I think he's going to do well against Melky Costa. Can use that ninja choke when you shoot in on you. Also, if you're trying to, like, he won't grapple a lot, but randomly will mix in the wrestling and when he needs to. Can get, oh, there's an ice cream truck outside. Can get caught when he's blitzing in, where he'll just drop his hands and you could touch him up. We saw Movzar drop him with that. The funny thing about Arnold Allen is he did look like kind of more of a traditional boxer against John Silva. I'm interested to see if we kind of see that approach from him a little bit more. He's very durable, has had a ton of competitive fights with all the guys in the top of the division, whether it's Movzar, Max, or John. The only thing I kind of worry about him in this fight, though, is like, he doesn't have fight finishing power. Really, what's the last guy finished? Drain Dan Hooker at 145. Like, Melky Costa can catch him with a kick. I'm not entirely worried about it just because I trust the experience of Arnold Allen more. Like, Costa is a very well-rounded kicker and can mix in the grappling when he wants to and mostly stay in southpaw. Like, he'll mix in a variety of crazy kicks and switch stances, but mostly will stay in southpaw. Can mix in the grappling, as I just said. Can blitz in with Superman punches. Can get subs off his back. You know, his defense, this is one thing that worries me because he is so good at range that I feel like if Arnold Allen is consistently keeping that forward pressure and blitzing in, we don't really know how good Melky Costa's defense is because he's so range oriented. I think it's a very close fight because even in the Allen, like when Allen fought Giga Chikadze, he did have trouble at times cutting off the cage because he had to worry about the kicks, and he kind of won that fight because Giga gassed out. But I do trust Arnold Allen more just because he's more comfortable. It can be very, I could see Melky Costa just doing a lot of damage to the calf of Arnold Allen and eventually finding the head kick, but I trust Allen more in a southpaw versus southpaw match. I believe Costa lost his only fight to somebody who was southpaw. That was Steve Garcia. Also, an underrated part, Melky Costa's cut weight like 5 times in a year, which makes me confident in Allen, who I like getting back in there and staying active after the John Silva fight, and I don't think the kicks are going to be there the same way they were against a Dan Ige. You know what I mean? Since these guys are both southpaw. Big drop down in competition for Arnold Allen. He's made for 5 rounds. I think he's going to survive the early calf kicks and just kicks of Melky Costa early in the first 2 rounds. Mix in the takedowns, mix in the clinch, land his straight left, continue to apply forward pressure to Melky Costa, and win this one by decision. Maybe a late finish, but again, Arnold Allen's really never getting a finish. There was a part of me that's like, maybe I take Melky Costa, and I'm just essentially like, I've always wanted Arnold Allen to go to lightweight. Maybe if he loses this, he just shoots up the lightweight, so maybe I'm just betting against him that way. He can move with the lightweight anyway. I don't really know what's next for this guy at featherweight, but this is still a sick fight between 2 high-level featherweights, a perfect apex banger. The main card for this, this fight night is pretty fucking good. It doesn't stack up to the Bilal one, obviously. That's in a couple weeks. But Arnold Allen versus Melquizael Costa. I'm going with Arnold Allen by decision. I'm not switching up on my guy just yet, even though I was leaning Costa up until like 2 days ago. And then I got in the fucking bag. I'm like, I'm trusting the experience of a Arnold Allen more. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you're new here, remember to like, comment, subscribe. The doctor is signing off.